On today's episode, we're going to wrap up all the Easter weekend action with my good friend here alongside me here. We're also from both the AFL and NRL, and also I'm going to be talking about my plans for the upcoming AFL Round. It's going to be a massive week. So let's get into that. So hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video and welcome to another episode of the BD Footy Wrap Up with a very special guest, Easter Bunny. As you can see, Easter weekend. I hope you guys had a very happy Easter. You can certainly tell I did. You can certainly tell as well. What's that, Easter Bunny? You enjoy it. You enjoyed the football this weekend? I certainly did, especially on Saturday. Let's put it that way. So let's of course the topics obviously when we're talking about both the Easter Monday matches for both the AFL and the NRL, because they were both pretty eventful really in their own rights. But then obviously you go through, of course, the usual suspects like the injuries and the suspensions and that. Also, I want to talk about a topic that just came to light a few hours ago in the light after the AFL Easter Monday game, which got me a bit pissed off, to be honest, really. And of course, as I said, I'll outline my plans, my content plans for the upcoming AFL Round. So let's get into it. So firstly, let's go to the AFL Easter Monday game, the traditional Easter Monday game between Hawthorn and Geelong. And it was a pretty interesting game, to say the least. It was a tale of possibly two. So the first half, of course, the first quarter was all dominated by Geelong. Obviously, kicked the first goal. Then Hawthorn came back with a goal of their own. Then afterwards, it was just all Geelong. They kicked 6 unanswered goals afterwards. And at quarter time was pretty much, I thought to myself, it's Geelong how far, to be honest, in that first quarter. But in the second quarter, and credit to the Hawks, they fought back dramatically, kicking 5 goals to 1 in that second term. To cut the margin from it was 38 points down to only 11 at the half, which is quite interesting there. I mean, the way they came back, and obviously Geelong had their own ball in the first quarter, and then the Hawks took that away. And they really did, got their running game going, and obviously close to within 11 points. Then went into half time with all the momentum, and then in the third quarter, Geelong just resumed their dominance from that first quarter, kicking 6 goals to 2. In that third term, it's just, and their stars from that first quarter. I mean, stars like Cameron Hawkins in game 350, Stengel, and all those in the midfield as well in Bruin, and that they really all over the ground. They did dominate in that third term. And got the margin and I said about the Hawks, getting that 5 goals in that third term, closed the margin to within 11 points, margin to 11. Just like that, all that effort in that second quarter was wasted, and they're back trailing by 6 goals again, which was unfortunate for them. it seemed like their effort in that second quarter was wasted. And then we went to the 3/4 time break, and then suddenly we had I think it was a 45 or 3/4 of an hour, I think, delay because of lightning in the area. I remember watching on Fox Footy, and Jason Dunstall was telling stories about when it was hailing with rain and all that, so which was classified as the good old days, which I have to definitely agree. But yeah, and then eventually we got out there. They got out there for the last quarter, and I immediately thought that because this was the perfect time for the Hawks to basically get back in this game. And they did. The ball was basically camped out in Hawthorn's forward line for about that 65-70% of that last term. It was camped in the Hawthorn's forward line, and they needed to execute. That itself is one thing. They needed to execute, which unfortunately, disappointingly, they didn't. They needed to execute to basically, try and put Geelong on the back foot and maybe get them a bit shaky. But they didn't. They let them off the hook with I think it was 2 goals 6 in that last term, and almost all of those behinds were pretty easy shots. Let's put it that way, or some shots which for some players would be easy shots to make, to be honest. And then speaking of execution, when Geelong got to their forward 50, despite them, to their honesty, they were turning it down a bit because obviously to save it for next week, they kicked 3 goals themselves, 3 goals straight, and then suddenly, just like that, the lead had blown out at one stage, something like 40 odd points, and it's game over. So I just had a feeling that if the Hawks had kicked straight in that last term, they would have given that Cats team a run for their money, a serious run for their money. Unfortunately, they didn't execute, and in the end, it ended in the same margin that was a 3/4 time for the final scores, 36 points. Geelong winning 17-4, 106, a very accurate Geelong in this game to Hawthorn's 10-10-70. To go through all of them here, Marvia Chol led with 3 goals, Mackenzie with 2, and then Warple, Watson, McDonald, Mitch Lewis, and Jack Ginnivan but all had 1 goal each. For Geelong, Ollie Henry and Tommy Hawkins in game number 350 kicked 4 goals. It had 8 goals between them with 4 goals each. Tyson Stengel, in my opinion, probably one of the best games he had played since his 2022 season, in my opinion. He was a threat everywhere around goals, and obviously, and to showcase why he's a very talented small forward, to be honest. Then of course you got Jeremy Cameron with also with 2, and then Graham Maz, Holmes, Duncan, Conway, and Close, all there. For me, I need to point this out here. Are we at the stage where Brad Close is the most underappreciated pressure forward in the competition? Like, seriously, we all talk about Hawkins, we all talk about Cameron, we all talk about Stengel, and all that. We all talk about Ollie Henry, but nobody talks about Brad Close and his role in the team. He's and of course they talk about also Graham Maz in there as well. But no one talks about it. No one talks about Brad Close. He deserves more praise than what he's getting, which is next to bugger all, to be honest. Nobody talks about him. As I said, everyone talks about Jezza, everyone talks about Tomahawk, everyone talks about Stengel, everyone talks about Big Maz, but no one talks about him. No one talks about him. He just doesn't get any sort of praise at all. He just goes out there, does his job. And we miss that in footy. I know we've got superstars in forward lines like of course I said about Jezza and Tomahawk, but also with the likes of likes of 2 metre Peter. You got Kerno and Mackay there as well, and also the small forwards as well who are some of the best, like Charlie Cameron as well. And the medium to smallish type forwards like Bailey Fritsch and that, which have been talked about like waxing lyrical by everybody. But those sort of forwards that just there to play a role, do their job week in, week out, like a Brad Close, that do not get any praise at all, and it's just unbelievable for me. So I think for me, that just stuck out for me, to be honest. And whenever he has the ball, it just something happens. Let's put it that way. To be honest, there. The best for each team. The best for Hawthorn, not surprisingly, James Worpel was the best for them. Connor Nash, Marbia Chol, Lloyd Meek, and Jai Newcomb. The best for Geelong, was Mitch Duncan, Ollie Henry, Tanner Bruin, Holmes, then Stewart, and then Tommy Hawkins in game 350 as well was the best there. The leading disposal getters on the ground for the Hawks. I mean, Worpel, not surprising, with 36 touches, the most in the game. Connor Nash with 24, Newcomb with 23. Jack Scrimshaw with 20, and then Ward and Carl Amon both had 19 touches each. For Geelong, Tanner Bruin with 27 touches, Mitch Duncan with 26, Tom Stewart with 24, Holmes with 23, and then Ollie Dempsey, who's been a shining. It's been a shining light for Geelong in these early stages of this season. Had 22 touches as well. A couple injuries to report out of the game for the Hawks. None really for Geelong. The injuries to report from the Hawks was key forward Mitch Lewis. He was out of the game at 3/4 time with a hamstring injury. Now it hasn't been confirmed yet. We'll probably, as I'm recording this on a Monday after the game, we'll probably get reports tomorrow, as in what the extent is about that hamstring injury. As well, and then later, so we'll get confirmed about that, and then also young Watson as well, as well also suffered. It's late in the game suffered an ankle injury, which I made me thought, oh, that looks bad. That looks bad. It looked like to me straight away for me. I thought straight away it was syndesmosis, straight away, to be honest. But it might be something different, because after a while he couldn't put any weight on his ankle, weight on his foot, because of how injured his ankle was. And then basically, as time went on, he basically gingerly jogged his way off the ground. So it might be nothing, but I straight away thought to myself, that's a syndesmosis injury. That's syndesmosis, I think, in my opinion. I won't be surprised if it is syndesmosis, to be honest. But unfortunately for both of him and for Mitch Lewis, they already did by the third quarter already put their sub in Harry Morrison on in place of Henry Hustwaite. during that third quarter, and then at 3/4 time, Jack Bowes replaced Tom Atkins in that as well. There was a crowd of 67,020 people at the MCG, which is pretty good considering as you can hear going on outside, it was pretty terrible conditions. So it was not surprising on that front there. Overall, it was a pretty good game. It was a tale of two halves, to be honest. I think the first quarter was how far Geelong. It's going to be Geelong by about 12 goals, definitely. But as I said, to Hawthorn's credit, they came back in the second term. But I think it was two things really for the Hawks: their first quarter, their third quarter, and their execution when they had territorial dominance in the last let them down in the end. But to be fair, the experience of Geelong and the professionalism of Geelong, that they will always get around those sort of games out anyway. So it was pretty awful, really, to be honest, on that front as well. But as I said, credit to them for coming back, but in the end, it just wasn't good enough in the end. And then Geelong, they go to 3-0. And as they head into Gather Round against the Doggies, which that one's going to be a very good game, and see how the Doggies do against Geelong, against the Cats, obviously, against the Cats on I think it's games on a Saturday night. I think Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, one of the two, I think. As well, which I'll get to. I'll get to that later. Get to the other topics that came out for the AFL out of the weekend. Out of the weekend. Start off with, of course, we have to talk about Brisbane. We just have to. 0-3. It's not looking good at all. And remember, the last time they were 0-3 was 2018. I remember rightly when they went the first 8 games without a win. Let's put it that way. So I watched all this game between them and Collingwood. You bet your life I did. And let's just say Brisbane have some serious problems. Let's put it that way. Let's have some serious problems. And I've already mentioned their backline and Harris Andrews quite a lot since Grand Final day. I already mentioned their midfield in a couple episodes ago. I want to put their focus on their forward line, because when that forward line is going, like the likes of Danaher, Hipwood, Cameron, Lincoln, McCarthy, all of those guys, when they're firing, they're great. But when they're not, they're letting the team down. Let's put it that way. Danaher, he was okay. He didn't really set the world on fire in this game. I think he was okay. That's the problem. He was okay, and for a player of his caliber, he knows that's not good enough by his standards. Let's put it that way. Don't get me started on Eric Hipwood's game on Thursday night. It was the only word I can think of was non-competitive. Yes, there was some free kicks, potential free kicks which he could have got, but they weren't given. But at least he needed to be competitive. It was just ridiculous, really. It was just absolutely ridiculous, really, from a player that we all know the potential that he has. We've all seen it over the last 5 or 6 years. When he has the ability to tear a game apart, he's great. but in this game he wasn't. I mean, he only had 8 touches for the whole game. 8 touches. 8 touches for the whole game. Combined between Hipwood and Danaher, they had 16 touches. They had 16 touches for the whole game. For the whole game. Now I'm interested to know here, who was Collingwood's sub. I want to have an interesting look here. Jack Crisp. Here we go. Let's see how many touches Jack Crisp had. 13 touches. And he was the sub. Danaher and Hipwood combined, 16. And they were there for the whole game. What does that tell you about their forward line? And of course, they can't rely on Charlie Cameron to kick like 2 or 3 or occasionally 5 or 6 goals. They just can't. They just can't. Because they need those 2 to be up and firing. Otherwise, this struggling start of the season is just going to keep on happening. And what's worrying is they're doing these type of performances at home too, where they were unbeaten throughout 2023, and now they can't buy a win at the Gabba right now. They just can't. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, their forward line. I'm gonna have a look at their forward line. I haven't started on the others here, but the others here. I mean, Charlie Cameron, as I said, he was also okay. McCluggage, to be honest, I see him as a midfielder, not a high, half forward sort of player. Let's put it that way. I'd see him as a midfielder, and also he's slowly getting better at his goal kicking, but not much, to be honest. With that, Cam Rayner, let's have a look at how his game went. Where is he? I unfortunately cannot find him. He was the only decent forward for them. He was the only sort of decent forward. I mean, 2 goals and he had like 20 odd touches. He's the only one in that forward line on Thursday night I'll give a pass mark to. Other than that, and also Darcy Ford is in there as well. What about him? No. So basically, the only one I would give a pass mark to out of that forward line on Thursday night for Brisbane would be Rayner. Would be Rayner. Charlie Cameron, okay. Hipwood, McCluggage, midfielder. Cam Rayner, yeah, I'll give you a tick. Danaher, and 4, That's what I'll do. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous here. And if you add Leaker McCarthy in there too, I want to see how Leaker McCarthy went as well. By the way, as well, he went okay. He actually. Yeah, I would give him also a pass mark too. I mean, him and Rayner, I'll give a pass mark for their performances on Thursday night. The others, I would either be okay or cross out for, because, yeah, and I'm not going to talk about their midfield, or I'm not going to talk about their backs, because obviously I've already mentioned them. Yeah, and they need to, and let's just say that this match against North Melbourne in Gabba Round on Friday, in their Friday twilight game, that can't come soon enough, because one thing that they do, they need a win, let alone a percentage boosting win. Let's put it that way. They needed those. So yeah. So yeah, it was pretty. It's pretty wrong stuff. Really, well, not wrong, but pretty grim reading really for Brisbane Lions, and and all that, and as I said, I already mentioned about their midfield. I mean, I've already criticised the midfield of them being too reliant on Lachie Neale. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. It's a fact that they can't do this without Lachie Neale. And plus, also, as I said, I'm going to keep on saying it until someone mentions it. Chris Fagan is a one-trick pony with Harris Andrews. He often puts him in fullback week in, week out. And has he been an influence? And has he been an influence in these first 3 games in 2024? No, I don't think so. For me, I don't think so. I don't think Harris Andrews has been influential as he has been throughout the first 3 matches of this season. So, and also it just proves whatever Chris Fagan's doing, it hasn't worked. I remember in round 1, in the opening round, in round 0, I know. You can't call it round 0. You can only call it opening round. Shuts up. Again, round 0. In round 0, he put Darcy Gardner for a half in the forward line, which clearly didn't work. He had no influence on the game whatsoever. So next week, he put him back. He put him again down back, and he hasn't gone there since. So yeah, clearly something's not working here. I don't know, and apparently there's a bit of issues off field apparently with the Brisbane Lions. That was reported on the Sunday Footy Show. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently there has been some off field problems down at the Brisbane Lions apparently. And so yeah, as I said, I haven't seen that video yet, but I will hopefully at some point this week. Watch that. But just to close out this topic, as I said, that game against North Melbourne and Gabba Round on Friday, that can't come soon enough for Brisbane, to be honest. And if they lose that game, oh boy, that club's gonna be turned inside out. Let's put it that way. If they lose to North, who are coming off of being embarrassed by 9 goals against Carlton on Good Friday. So yeah, speaking of very grim, the next topic is very fitting of that. And for some reason they haven't been talked about, because obviously it's not surprising really that they're doing this. But let's talk about the West Coast Eagles. Because already after 3 games, already things are looking pretty grim already. And I mean, at least in the first 3 rounds last year, their first 3 games of last year, they won a game at least. Then it just gotten from that point on. They just came in this year and thought, let's go drop downhill from the start. And that's what's happened here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It is just. I mean, looking at their results from the. Let's see here. Let's go West Coast. Here we go. So they lost by 50. So in the round 1, they lost by 50 points against Port Adelaide, which is not surprising. Obviously, top 4 contender, top 8 contenders, possibly top 4 at the Adelaide Oval. Then they went home and lost to probably the most informed side in the competition in GWS, and at one point they did, concede. They only scored like 2 goals until 3/4 time, by the way, in West Coast. And then this weekend, they lost by 76 points against the Bulldogs. On yesterday afternoon. And let's just say it does not get any easier. Let's put it that way. I mean, they versed the Sydney Swans. They versed the Sydney Swans at Gabba Round. Then they got Richmond. Then they go to the Western Derby. And then afterwards, the Western Derby against the Dockers, who are who are probably the second most informed side in the competition outside of GWS. Yeah, that is not good. And plus, also to make things worse, the next week they verse the Gold Coast up on the Gold Coast on the Sunday afternoon. So that just makes things incredibly worse. Let's put it that way. See them losing. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. They could possibly be 0-7 and being smashed by 10 goals in all 7 of those games. There's a real possibility. And for me, I don't know if there's been any bad start to a season than that. I mean, I know there was Fitzroy back in the day, back in their last season in '96 before they changed to the Brisbane Lions. There was Gold Coast and GWS back in their first seasons as an expansion club. Probably are the only comparisons. But really, this is a club that's been around for about I think about nearly 40 years, nearly 40 years, 35, 40 years, and they are pretty much non-competitive. Pretty much. I'm in the boat with. Kane Corns said this time and time again, all of 2023, that a record of Adam Simpson's in the last 3 or so years, you wouldn't survive that in any sport. You would not survive that. Not in NFL, not in the NRL, not even in many soccer leagues like the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, Liga and Serie A, the A-League even. You just cannot survive. You would be sacked straight up if the higher ups at that particular club know about that record. They would sack you straight up. The West Coast, but not West Coast. The only team that'll do that is West Coast. They are just so. It just really gives me a headache, really. That there are so many good coaches. There's so many good assistant coaches that would be good enough to take a rebuilding team like West Coast. I mean, everyone thought that Matthew Nicks was wasting time when Adelaide lost its first 15 games in 2020. And look at them now. They're saying. Everyone's saying, even me, is saying this year that they're top 8 contenders. So it could change just like that with a new coach at a rebuilding club. They just, I get some people's arguments that it just basically like no coach would want to take on this club when it's like this. I mean. They're saying that they want they wanted to change. Nothing's changing, to be honest. The only reason why there was a tension around West Coast in the opening round was because of Harley Reid. To be honest, that's it. It was all about Harley Reid. To be honest, that's my opinion, really. But other than that, I mean, yes, I know they versed Port Adelaide away. They versed GWS, the most informed team in the competition, and the Bulldogs side, which also could be a top 8 contender, and eventually they'll verse Sydney as well next week, who are also a top 8 contender and possibly a top 4 contender as well. And then also as well Richmond as well. I mean they're just coming off a confidence boosting win over Sydney as well. So it's pretty concerning really for the West Coast, and it's just pretty annoying really. As I said, there's plenty of good coaches, and then all of a sudden there's Adam Simpson with this record of what's the record like 5 wins from so the record is, hang on, it's about 4 wins in, what is it, like 22, 23, 45, and then of course the best 3 games. That's basically 4 wins in 48 games. And I said, nobody survives that record. Nobody does in world sport. And yeah, like for example, if Pep Guardiola, who's managing Manchester City, if he had that record, he would have got the sack. He would get the sack straight up. The sack straight up. So too would Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. So too would an outgoing Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. So too would Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid. Same too would be Xabi Alonso, who's absolutely killing it at Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. He would also be cut as well. Also be cut as well. I mean, you see what I mean here? You know what I mean? It's just incredible here. At least, and until then, something's gonna have to give. Something just has to give on that. And I don't know if it means that that Simo gets the sack or he resigns at the end of the season. They need clean air in the coaching ranks at that club. They just need to. They just need to be honest. Yeah, that's what my opinion is on that front there. Moving on to the sole topic, which was the NRL's Easter Monday game down at Commbank Stadium between the Parramatta Eels and the West Tigers. And despite it being all level at 6-6, it was the West Tigers who I think won for the first time. I think since 2020, I believe I heard that they have won back-to-back games. It is, of course, backing up, of course, from their maiden win last week against the Cronulla Sharks, their first win under coach the great Benji Marshall, obviously. So yeah, it was off the back of 2 tries from their pre-season recruit in Justin Olam. Pretty sad. I'm still sad that he's left the Melbourne Storm, to be honest. But yeah, and then of course Buller obviously scoring a try in the 68th minute. To go of course the 2 tries scored by the Parramatta Eels in Clint Gutherson in the 44th minute. Then earlier Mackay Sivo in the 15th minute. Obviously the regular conversion scorer, obviously in Mitch Moses is out for about 8 to 10 weeks with a foot injury. So of course mainly Clint Gutherson was the one that basically took the conversions. He was one from one. I think someone else as well took a conversion early on in the game, I think. And then while of course the West's main conversion scorer, in Api Coruscant, he went 2 from 3 in terms of conversions. There was a lot of penalties that were on a 2-point penalties, goals that were converted by the Eels. Gutherson went 3 from 4 from that. And then obviously and one of them obviously in the last 5 minutes of the game, which brought the margin to 16 all. And then of course Caesar, and then Aiden. I think it was Aiden. I think Aiden. Then I think it was Aiden Caesar, I believe. If I can just correct myself. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd had to correct myself there. Aiden Caesar, he missed a chance of a 2-point field goal, which he said in an interview with Fox League. He said he had slippery hands and couldn't get the ball dropped the way he wanted to. Or it was either that or his hands were sticky. One of the two. I think it was that he spoke about on Fox League. And then with about a minute left, Aiden Caesar scored the 1-point conversion. I saw it. I knew it was coming too. On the 5th tackle and put it straight. It was not the best field goal attempt in the world, but at the end of the day, it went through. And then there was one last twist of the tail. I watched the last 5 minutes of this game, by the way. And there was a penalty which went to the Eels for offside. Which meant Gutherson had the chance to win the game with a penalty kick from about 40 odd meters from about 30 odd meters out. And all this time I thought, no, there's no way he's going to kick this. There's no way. Eventually he sprayed it to the left, and that was game over, and West Tigers won the game 17-16. In that game, there was one bit of sour news really for West Tigers in young 18-year-old Lachlan Galvin, who was sent on report and sent to the bin for 10 minutes for an illegal hip drop. And then when he came back on, he assisted one of the players of the day, obviously, assisting in the try to Jareen Buller in the 68th minute, which was great. Great for him. There's the possible chance that he might there's a chance that he might be missing weeks, which I'll get to when I get to obviously the suspensions. The one of the main injuries from the AFL injuries first with the AFL. Then the main AFL injuries that will come out of this week. With the one thing also I forgot to mention, there were a couple of Tigers as well I forgot to mention in this. I forgot to list down in my notes here as well. But of course, it was revealed during this weekend that to make matters worse for Brisbane, their new recruit in Tom Duday. He unfortunately tore the same ACL that he actually recovered from last year when he was playing for Adelaide, and unfortunately he will be missing for another 12 months, unfortunately. So, bit of a shame for him there, and it just makes the time for Brisbane a whole lot worse, really. And speaking a whole lot worse, it gets worse for the Kangaroos out of its loss against Carlton on Good Friday, when their big nanny Callum Coleman-Jones, which was confirmed at halftime by Todd Viney, which is confirmed, he had torn his tore his Achilles. Which was confirmed. That will be meaning his season is over at that point. And it was very interesting. I remember watching the other day. Yesterday morning. on the Sunday morning. I remember watching on AFL.com.au the round so far. I remember watching, of course, and Riley Beveridge made a good point that only two or three North Melbourne players went to him when he was carted off. Which I find that strange. I thought they would have had more, care for their teammate and go over to him and say, I hope you recover well, or yada. But only 3 players went to him. Only 3. That's I don't know what it is down there. If it's something to do culture wise, or the other players is just selfish. I don't know. But only 3 players. Like, I remember the only example of this the opposite way was I remember in round 1 when Jeremy Howe busted his arm last year. Every single Collingwood player, and I do mean every single Collingwood player, went to him, went to him, patted him on the back, and said, I hope you're okay in your recovery, yada yada, that sort of stuff. Hope you'll be okay, yada yada, that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's the thing, really. All the players who were on the ground did that. For North, they didn't. Only 3 players did that. Which I actually found that strange that Riley Beveridge actually pointed that out on the round so far. It was strange, really. So yeah, so that meant the season for him is over, and that was it for the injuries. That was it for injuries, or so I thought, until about a few hours ago, during the Easter Monday game. When this here, I'll try and find it. When this got revealed, that two of Richmond's players, after their win against Sydney, are going to be out for extended periods. Of course, the first one is, of course, star forward Tom Lynch. After all he suffered, obviously, recently with injuries and that, he's going to be sent for a massive stint for a significant stint on the sidelines, that it says, after suffering a serious hamstring injury. Apparently, it said here that apparently it was revealed by the club that it is significant. It is significant damage to the hamstring tendon, so which is behind his left knee. So that meant that and apparently, and it's also said here that that surgeons will meet later this week. He'll meet the surgeon later this week to determine what will be that, and then obviously afterwards we'll know the timeline and when he will come back. And to make matters worse as well, they'll be missing their swingman Noah Bolter for up to 5 weeks. In the final seconds of the game against the Swans, he suffered knee-to-knee contact with Brodie Grundy, and it was revealed that he had a moderate MCL injury, which will rule him out rule him out for up to 5 weeks. So yeah, so basically, there's they just can't take a trick down there at the Richmond down at Punt Road. Let's put it that way in terms of injuries. And as I said, for West Coast and hamstring injuries as well, it gets a whole lot worse. Because their only main ruckman that they have at their disposal, Matthew Flynn, it was confirmed that he's going to be ruled out for up to 12 weeks because was ruled out at the start of the season for up to 12 weeks because after having surgery on his hamstring tendon. So So there's a lot of these going around, these hamstring tendon issues around the AFL at this time. So it just seems like, it's just, unfortunately for Richmond, especially for Lynch. I mean, he's just coming back into decent form after missing for 12 months in 2023. He's starting to get into decent form, and now it's gone back to square one really on that front. Yeah. So now moving on to the NRL, of course, 3 players in Bulldogs winger Josh Addo-Carr, Rabbitohs prop Shakai Mitchell, and Raiders forward Zach Hosking, all during this weekend failed their HIAs, and this week will go into the NRL's concussion protocols. So that means they'll be missing their games this week. And the news gets worse for the Bulldogs with Jacob Preston being set, is going to be set to be sidelined for up to 6 weeks with a fractured jaw, which was caused in the incident during the Good Friday game with Shaq Mitchell. He apparently there was a head clash, and apparently at that point Mitchell had initially during the game passed his HIA, but he had another HIA test after the game and he failed that. So that's why he's going to miss this week as well. And then obviously Preston is going to be out of action for up to 6 weeks with that fractured jaw, obviously. And it took no prisoners as well in this Good Friday game because Rabbitohs winger, and this has become a real trend in both AFL and NRL, hamstring injuries. Winger in Alex Johnston is going to be set to be ruled out for the Rabbitohs clash this week with the Warriors with a hamstring injury. And speaking of the Warriors, there is huge concerns at this point surrounding their 5'8" in Luke Metcalf, who is set to have a very extended period on the sidelines after he was taken to hospital with what was said by Coach Andrew Webster, a possible fracture in his ankle during the game down at Auckland against the Knights. We still don't know. We need to wait for scans on that, but apparently it's not going to be good for him there. The Raiders forward Elliot Whitehead, he withdrew from their game this week. I think it was against the Sharks. I think it was the Sharks. Yeah, it was the Sharks. Their loss against the Sharks with a calf injury, which we still haven't confirmed yet if he's going to play this week or not. And then out of the Easter Monday game, Eels back rower Bryce Cartwright missed the game with a knee injury. And then of course, the biggest name, the biggest name in the NRL at the moment, Panthers superstar in Nathan Cleary, he's eyeing off a round 7 return from a hamstring injury, which was suffered in the game against the Broncos. Was it the Broncos? It was against the Broncos. Let's put it that way. And speaking of Broncos, they've already, their injury list is a little thin, obviously, after the injury to Reece Walsh. Now their back rower in Brandon Pikura is going to be out for at least a month after spraining his ankle in training before the game against the Cowboys on Friday night, which I watched that game. I found it pretty entertaining. Let's put it that way, just very quickly there. And for any of my fellow Melbourne Storm fans out there watching, this will be music to your ears. Let's put it that way. With these names set to come back after their bye this week. Cameron Munster, Joe Chan, Remus Smith, Christian Walsh, and Big Nelson Asafa-Solomona are all expected to be available for selection this week, which is fan-bloody-tastic, let's put it that way. So now on to the suspensions. So of course, start off with also with the AFL was that during the Essendon St Kilda game, Saints midfielder Marcus Windhager was suspended for one match for rough conduct against Essendon winger in Sam Durham. That obviously caused his concussion. Commentators' first thought was did his shoulder or collarbone, but actually was reported by the Essendon Football Club that he actually had concussion, so which means that he will miss Gabba round against Port Adelaide there. And of course Windhager, of course, been suspended for that. And then just today, confirmed today, during the game, during the Easter Monday game, it was confirmed that Liam Baker would be suspended for one match for rough conduct against I think it was Melican, I believe. Yeah, Melican. I remember rightly. So he's going to miss. Both of them are going to miss Gabba round. Onto the NRL. As I said earlier, young West Tigers backman in Lachlan Galvin, as well as Max Plath from the Dolphins is expected to both be suspended for between 2 to 3 matches for a grade 3 dangerous contact, which I know for Galvin that is an illegal hip drop. I wonder if Platt suffers did the same thing, while Kurt Moran from the Bulldogs, he's also facing a 2 to 3 week suspension, but this time for a grade 2 dangerous throw. So on that front, so on that front, it's pretty quiet, really. Of course, a couple of players, a couple of players in the AFL, 3 players in the NRL potentially getting, or either have confirmed or potentially might get suspended for longer periods. Now, onto my thoughts on this. Now, this didn't come to my attention until probably about 2 to 3 hours ago, post Easter Monday game against Hawthorn and Geelong, when it was where it was confirmed that the AFL are investigating into Tom Hawkins' use of his phone during that delayed break at 3/4 time due to the lightning. And you guys might be thinking, what are my thoughts on this? My thought was when I first saw the video, it was like saw the video which was confirmed by Tom Morris on Channel 9, was, are you serious? Are you serious? My reaction was, what in the living hell was he supposed to do? Like, what is he supposed to do? Just sit there like this for 45 minutes and wait till the freaking signal for him to warm up? Like, what was he supposed to do? He's supposed to do, and apparently the guy that manages all players' phones, it was given to Tommy by him. And from the footage I've seen, he only touched his phone. He only touched his phone like this. Okay, so let me give you another Easter egg. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but return this to my phone. So he had it like this. He wasn't doing anyone like this, or like that, or like that, or like that. He was going like that. Harmless. Absolutely harmless. I know. I mean, the only reason this is brought to freaking attention was because of those two freaking Collingwood idiots that during the game in 2020 decided to have fun on their freaking phones or doing selfies and that. That's why this rule's in place. That's why. So and don't say right now that that's not true. It is true. It's a fact. So and that's the reason why this rule's in place. And by the way, that was during the game. That was during the game. Not that was during the game, and that's the difference. That was during the game. This was during a delay. This was during a rain/lightning delay. During that, what else was Tommy supposed to do for 45 minutes? What else, AFL? What else was he supposed to do? What else is he supposed to do with himself? Like, is he just gonna stand there, just wait for the world to go by and just wait for said at the start, wait for the signal for him to allow himself to warm up? Are you serious? Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, and it's just ridiculous that Tommy Hawkins to get a please explained by the AFL, and you never know, maybe he got some like message or something, like the guy that owns the phones, that he wouldn't give the phone to him for no reason. He wouldn't have given the phone to him for no reason. There had to be an important reason for him to give, for that person to give Tommy his phone. It must have been something important. So for me, my response to this is it's absolutely bullshit. I'm serious. It's bullshit. That there's a possibility that Tom Hawkins will need to explain himself to the AFL why he had his phone on him during a delay break. What are we, school? What are we? Seriously, it's ridiculous. Yeah. That's the last thing I hear about this. But it's just going to be ridiculous that in a guy's 350th game, he, as I said, no reason. There has to be a reason for him having his phone. And as I said, yeah, maybe there's a rule possibly of maybe no social media. You can't use social media during that time. But for me, so if I'm an AFL player and this happens, like the rain delay and that, which goes for 45 minutes, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't just, sit here, handball into a wall, kick into a wall for 45 minutes. Eventually I'll just get bored. And then just sit down and then it's why we could you go talk to your teammates. But not for 45, but not for 40 minutes straight. Seriously, not for 40 minutes. For 5-10 minutes or so. But eventually someone's going to run out of things to talk about, and then basically just gotta go like this. are we going to do? That's serious. I mean, it's just ridiculous, really, that there's the possibility that this has come to life because of it. The AFL needs to calm down on this, to be honest. Needs to at least ease their stance a little bit on this. Let's put it that way. I'm just saying. They need to ease their stance on this. Full stop. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. So, rant over. So the final thing I want to talk about is, of course, my content plans for the upcoming AFL Round. So of course, tomorrow there's currently no Gather Round, no Gather Round sort of content plans there. On Wednesday, I'm going to do my first episode of the year for BD AFL Analyzer for the season. Been delayed, but I'll be back in action for that. Currently, no content planned for Thursday, and then the weekend is where it all starts to ramp up. So instead of having, just, doing the usual, primetime wrap, Saturday review, if you know what I mean, I decided to do what I've basically done for the last couple of years with the Big Bash, and that is review every single match. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be reviewing every single match one by one of Gather Round. I'm not going to be doing this for the entire season. I'm not going to. It's only just a one round thing. But yeah, because and I just want to get into the spirit of Gather Round and that sort of thing. So obviously on Friday I'll be reviewing the the Thursday night game between Adelaide and Melbourne. Then on Saturday there will be 2 videos on that day, reviewing the Saturday twilight game against Brisbane and North, and then the Friday night game. Friday twilight game between Brisbane and North, I should say, and the Friday night game between Port Adelaide and Essendon. And then Sunday, I'll be reviewing all the 3 matches on that day. Of course, the Saturday Arvo game between West Coast and Sydney, although that's gonna end, or I would know how it's gonna end. Saturday twilight game between Fremantle and Carlton. That one's gonna be an absolute beauty, by the way. Then the Saturday night game between the Western Bulldogs and Geelong. And then Monday, I will be doing a match review on the. There'll be 3 videos as well. There'll be one. So I'll be reviewing the 3 Sunday games, the 2 Sunday Arvo games between one which is Gold Coast and GWS, and then the other one would be Richmond and St Kilda. And then finally, the Sunday twilight game between Collingwood and Hawthorn. And then it will all wrap up on next Tuesday, when I'll be doing a very special BD Footy Wrap Up Gather Round edition, where I'll be talking about all about Gather Round. So unfortunately this week, if you want to have news and topics surrounding the NRL, unfortunately next week you're not going to get that, because it will all be focused on Gather Round. But don't worry, I'll make it up to NRL fans, which that will be revealed very soon. So those are my plans really for Gather Round. I want to step up my plan for Gather Round, because I was pretty disappointed over the whole Gather Round thing. I think I put up a pretty crap effort in terms of making content for Gather Round last year. But even though I can't get to the games, if you know what I mean, because they're in Adelaide, obviously, this is the next best thing, obviously. But watching all 9 games, which is probably the best for me in any ways. So yeah, and also just about that analyzer, I'm not going to analyze all 9 games, because the episode will go 2 hours long, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to explain to all the different games, or some of the games that are going to be interesting in that case. So that's just pretty much it, really. To be honest, just that's enough for on an Easter Monday. You can see here, Easter Bunny here had a really good time. Had a really good time. He had a good time there, Easter Bunny. I know you did. I know you did. So like this video. Share to anybody who's an AFL fan or an NRL fan. Comment down below how did your team, both in AFL and NRL, fare this Easter weekend. To be honest, and do you agree with what any topics I said, or my opinions I said there? And one last thing, click on somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever. See you guys later, and of course I'm going to bring this the one-time thing. This the last time I'll bring this kind of outro back. Until and wherever you may be, may the sun or the moon shine on you. See you guys later.